Well, good morning, Sarah. It's so nice to talk to you. I just want to know a little bit more about your practice and your time at Azule. So, can you just start off by giving us an overview of your background and your creative work?
Um, I I've always made art ever since I was little. I had, of course, like many artists, I had to have a job because I couldn't just stay home and make art. And so I worked in advertising as a stylist for photography, for commercial photography. And actually, that wasn't a bad job for an artist because you use a lot of the same skills you do as making art. And so I finally was able to retire from that. And I have a really nice studio here in Atlanta. And I don't know why I went left it to go to Azul, but I just needed a break from the chaos. Here it's Christmas time and there's so much noise and there's so much traffic. And it was so nice to wake up at Azul with just the crows calling and no leaf blowers at all. It was great. So it was very restful in that respect.
That's great. Yeah, I'm sure it's a big juxtaposition from where you are in Atlanta. Could you quickly just tell us about what you were working on when you were at Azul?
I was experimenting with paper clay, and it's something I really haven't messed with much. And it has its, it's a little frustrating because it dries and then you can't really change it much. So I'm not sure I'm going to stay with it, but I still want to mess with it. And that's what I did. I did a little flying carpet out of paper clay and some
That's
big
great.
snakes.
Yay, that's awesome. Yeah, it's nice to have that time to just be able to take a risk. Even if it doesn't work out, I'm sure that was nice
Yeah.
to kind of have some experiment time. Well, speaking of your flying carpets, I want to know more about the playing cards in your work and what drew you to found objects. I know that's a lot of what you work with. So I'm just wondering if you can speak to that a little bit.
I still paint some, but mostly these objects that I find or people give me are inspire this work, and I feel like I come from the tradition of Joseph Cornell, who's the father of assemblage art, and I think that in some ways my work it comes from that same place of putting dissimilar objects together to create something else. And the flying carpets, someone gave me a pretty good sized box of vintage cards from the casinos in Las Vegas. So I started just playing with them and laying them out. And I laid out like a 4 by 8 foot strip of them and started gluing them together. And then I they were not very interesting, so, just flat, so I gathered them up, and I got pieces of lattice and stapled them to it so it had a wavy shape, and from there, I just took off on them because I made them, painted them, and added, a different little things to them. More found objects. The last piece had game pieces from games like dice and all this junk that you get when you buy these games. And so that's how that evolved.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I love the form of those. I'm a textile person and looking at them, they feel like textiles because of the drape that you're able to
Ah,
get.
yeah,
So
I can see it.
beautiful. Um, I am interested in like I guess your trajectory. Did you come into making art using found objects predominantly, or is this something that evolved over time? How has your practice changed over time?
I I like to experiment with different medium, and I have in school. I was a painting and printmaking major, and I printmaking is sort of hard to do. I was doing etching, and since I didn't have an acid bath in my house, I just went to painting. And, uh, and then I started doing encaustic a little bit, and that's, pretty fun. And I took some coal wax classes and stuck stuff in the wax, of course, and collage. And I don't know, I just like different medium. I have a hard time sticking to one thing. And painting is so incredibly hard for me just to resolve a painting, but that's the challenge.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, I feel like I'm someone who is a one media type of artist, so I have a lot of respect for folks like you who can kind of do a lot of different things, wear many hats as an artist. But I guess just thinking about your practice in general, like big picture, what do you find the most challenging about being a creative, and what do you find the most rewarding?
Challenging, is just to the work. It's something that if I'm starting on something and I can't resolve it, it is so frustrating, and I have to and then I don't always resolve it. Sometimes I just have to throw it away because it's not gonna be resolved. And so that's the most frustrating thing is when you have something you started and it's just not working, and it was probably ill-conceived to begin with. And rewarding is, it's nice when I sell things. I sell things occasionally, and that indicates to me that people appreciate what I'm doing and getting the hearts on Instagram. That's nice. So that's that. And it's a lot of satisfaction when something does work out well and it pushes me forward in my practice so I can go start on something else and expand.
Yeah, that's a great feeling when one piece leads to something else. It's very affirming. This is something that I selfishly want to know, just because this is something that comes up a lot for me, and I'm sure for a lot of other creative folks. How do you overcome creative blocks when that happens in your practice?
I start drawing, and then sometimes I'll have a drawing and I'll just make it. I won't think about it. I just push myself, go not to analyze it and just go ahead and make it. And that usually pulls me out of whatever funk I'm in. But and I'll take time out just to I travel some, and I adventure to Azule. I wasn't stuck anywhere, but I just thought I need a different environment. And that's sometimes helpful. I went to Vermont Studio Center a few years ago, and there were there's a lot of energy there. And I realized that in a residency, that is actually a good thing. As much as I wanted to be quiet, maybe if there were other artists working, they would inspire me or somehow make me feel guilty for not working. I don't know if that's a good answer.
No, that's a great answer. I mean, I've been thinking about that a lot too, as like, what do I want out of a residency? And I feed a lot off of other people, and yeah, seeing somebody else go to their studio while I'm laying in bed reading might be a nice little motivation.
Get out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last question that I have for you is, what is the best advice that you've been given about being a creative person?
Just keep doing it.
Yeah,
Just keep making it. And I think that's the quintessential the question and answer because uh, there's many times there's no reward except your own self-satisfaction.
yeah.
You just keep doing it. And that's a huge question. It really is like, what in the world? Why? Uh, but I always felt like I wasn't a person that could be a salesman, or I did get certified to teach, and I knew right off the bat that wasn't my thing, and but it didn't make me happy. So I think it's listening to your guidance is
Totally.
very important. to see what is in there to tell you, what makes you happy. So,
I love that. That's great. Well, is there anything else that you want to share with our audience about your practice or your time at Azul?
um, I Azul was very unique. Camille was wonderful. She'd pop in and we shared Christmas Eve dinner together,
Oh, that's
kind of
great.
like pitched in what we both had,
Yeah.
and she's an incredible person.
Yeah,
She's
she is.
sharp as a tack, and that was the best thing about it was meeting her.